Hey everyone, thanks for watching Commander's Brew here on YouTube. If you guys like this channel and you like the deck techs we're making, go down and hit subscribe. Really helps us out. Or if you want to help out even more, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/commandersbrew, where you can get in on the fun directly and get in on some of the perks and stuff like that. But without further ado, let's get to this week's deck tech. Sean, we got a good one.
Oh, we got a great one. This is Kykar, Wind's Fury. I was so excited to brew around this deck, and it delivered. This is a deck, as you know, so we're going to be casting non-creature spells, we're going to be making spirits, we're going to be swarming opponents with them, or we're going to be sacking them for red mana to ramp and do cheaty things that way as well. This deck is shenanigans.
Oh, this deck is shenanigans. And spoiler alert, it contains the card Shenanigans.
Has to.
It must.
So let's not waste any more time here. Let's get into the neat moves.
Working on a
Neat moves. Okay, so we want to cast non-creature spells, and one card for one non-creature spell isn't good enough. I want more than one non-creature spell casting per card, so we're going to use Flashback. I'm talking Devil's Play. It's a good removal spell up front to do some damage, and this could be a finisher as well. If we have enough spirits on the battlefield, we can get enough red mana to flash it back. Each cast is a spirit. I'm talking Throes of Chaos. This is the one from Modern Horizons, the card that doesn't actually do anything except it has Cascade.
Yeah.
It will probably cascade into something that gives us another spirit, but it also has Retrace, which I think is huge. We can throw away lands that don't have a lot of use late, or if we've drawn a bunch of cards and we have extra lands, we can turn them into multiple spells for multiple spirits, most likely. And I'm talking Reality Scramble with Retrace, turning a spirit into another creature. Any creature we hit off of Reality Scramble will be better than the spirit we sacked to cast it. We have some powerhouse creatures in here, and it can also be used. I mean, we have quite a few artifacts and a couple of enchantments. It is also fine to just be like, you know what, I want my other enchantment, so I'm gonna go looking for it.
Yeah, because like Prowess, Kykar cares about non-creature spells, not just instant and sorcery, so we can get our spirits from a lot of different sources here. And once you get all those spirits out there, why not use them to attack and get a huge buff effect from Adriana, Captain of the Guard. She's the one that gives everyone melee, and if we remember, melee is when if you've attacked for each opponent, your creatures get +1/+1. So if you send, if you're in a 4-player game, you send your 3 spirits attacking. That means that all the attacking creatures now get +3/+3. So if we've attacked each of our opponents, right? Which means your spirits are 4/4, and 4/4 spirits attacking is that's a lot.
Yeah, your spirits are 4/4, and Kykar becomes a 6/6, if that's like, you know, if you just want to get it. A lot of times in games, some players have a hard time against a lot of flyers, so you're just like, yeah, I'm just gonna get a bunch of damage in here. Also in the deck is Sephara Sky's Blade. Being able to pay white and tap for untapped creatures with flying is very easy in this deck. We can often cast Sephara for a single white. Having a 7/7 flying lifelink is amazing, and making all our spirits unblockable. Now if we've got Adriana, we can be like, sure, I'll send them at everybody. I don't care if you got blockers, like you're not going to kill them. Sephara with Adriana, now we're attacking and Sephara gets +3/+3. Like, it's pretty good.
It's pretty wild that even if you, how many do you have to tap? 4. So it doesn't even make sense. I was going to say, like, you could sack 4 to get the mana and then pay 3 white. Like, you don't even need to do this alternate casting thing if for some reason you can't. But that doesn't even make sense because that means you have the 4 things to do.
Right.
So, like, Sephara is pretty sweet in this deck.
Yeah.
Moving on, also, so taking care of these tokens and making more of them is going to be very key, and you want some redundancy in there. So Custody Soulbinders and Twilight Drover, I think at this point we can call Twilight Drover a friend of the show.
Yeah.
We feature him a lot on the show because it's very, very good, especially when we're talking spirits and tokens. These are things that are going to get bigger between the number of creatures you have, or whenever creatures leave. In the case of Twilight Drover, we're going to be adding more counters onto him, and then you can take them off. Both of them for 2 and a white to make even more spirits.
Yeah, and so I want to just point out that Twilight Drover has a mana ability that generates spirits, right? So with Kykar, any ability that costs mana that ends up casting a spell for one way or another also nets us some mana back. It gives us a rebate on some of that mana because we could sack those spirits. So Twilight Drover has the ability to make 2 spirits for 3, but then get 2 mana back by sacking the 2 we just made. And that pumps Twilight Drover up by 2 +1/+1 encounters also. We can also do fun stuff in combat. If your opponents might not realize that Twilight Drover, who is attacking as a 5/5, could actually be like an 8/8 or a 9/9 if they're not thinking about it.
Yep, that's true. Twilight Drover's awesome.
Yes.
I love that card.
So let's talk about a neat little package here. I'm talking Spark Double, which is clone on a creature or a planeswalker. It gets an additional +1/+1 counter or a loyalty, but it's not legendary anymore. We also remember this from Helm of the Host. It makes non-legendary copies of whatever it's equipping at the beginning of combat. Obviously, Kykar is our number one topic for this, our number one target. So getting multiple spirits every time we cast spells. But in a pinch, like having 2 or 3 Adrianas is pretty great. Stacking all that melee. So now every time everyone attacks, they get +6/+6 or +9/+9. That's a legit move.
Yeah, there's a world where that's your target for Helm of the Host or Spark Double instead of Kykar. Actually, if you're ready to throw down and just get in, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Very cool. These next 2 are some interesting suspend cards that help with our strategy. So Chronomantic Escape and Reality Strobe. Chronomantic Escape, basically these are each cards that cost 6. You can suspend them for 3, and they suspend for 3, meaning that 3 time counters is what they get on there. And when they go off or when you cast them, they get exiled after with 3 counters. So they keep coming back every 3 turns, basically. Chronomantic Escape is the one that basically says creatures can't attack you, and then Reality Strobe bounces a permanent. So Chronomantic Escape is going to be nice to be able to play this and to save you from that all-in board wipe where you take out one player, and then it's going to protect you from there so that there's no crackback, right? Pretty sweet. And just Reality Strobe is just going to be nice. Like you can bounce your own stuff, you can bounce stuff that they have, a little bit of removal that keeps coming back.
You can also bounce lands, right? If someone times a board wipe, you can bounce. So there's utility for it. I do like the free spells. Okay, Aetherworks Marvel's in this deck. This deck is fantastic for Aetherworks Marvel. We know that you don't need energy counter generators in a deck with Aetherworks Marvel if you have a way of having permanents leave the battlefield. Does that sound like sacking spirits for mana to you? Because it does for me. Yeah. And you get to cast something for 6, and that's if nothing else goes. I mean, you crack a Terramorphic, there's an extra energy counter, right? If Twilight Drover is going off, then you're getting energy counters all over the place.
That's true.
So it's very reasonable to have this activate once per turn. And man, I'll nab a Helm of the Host, I'll nab a Reality Scramble, I'll nab like everything is a great target for this.
Oh, everything is great. And it works really well with the Decoction module, obviously. Creatures entering the battlefield, giving you energy is great, but that's not the only reason this card's in here. Yeah, it works well with Aetherworks Marvel, but that 4 and tap to bounce a creature, this is great protection for your commander. You're not always going to have to pay 4. 4 is a lot to keep up, certainly, but if you can sack spirits to pay for even half of that, right? So you're only keeping up 2 mana now. Decoction module is now just a legit protection plan for your commander, which every commander deck wants anyways. So the fact that it doubles up with Aetherworks Marvel, the fact that it offers great protection to one or more of your creatures, over the course of the game, Decoction module is pretty nice little include. I really like this one.
Yeah, and if you get it first, your opponents are like, well, whatever. You can build up a bank of energy, so if you ever do land your Aetherworks Marvel, it's an immediate free spell.
Yeah, and we have something coming in a second that can help us get to that Aetherworks Marvel.
Ooh, yes.
Anyways.
So let's talk about our swarm strategy, right? So we've got a lot of spirits. We're going to attack with a lot of things. Little pump effects. Rally the Peasants lets us do it twice for the flashback, +2/+0 each time. And and we can sack the spirit that the first cast gives us to get +4/+0 in a turn. I mean, if we have Adriana, we're talking that other +3/+3 plus another 4 on top of that. I mean, we're not going to talk about it, but I just didn't have time. But like, there are other anthem-y pump effects. Jeskai Ascendancy has to be in the deck, right? Casting non-tree creature spells, getting +1/+1. This closes games. I have found this with an Aetherworks Marvel where I'm just like, you know what? I'm not attacking right now, but I want this in the graveyard for my flashback next turn, so I will take this and cast it, and then just like cast it the other way later.
Yeah, attacking with 5/1 spirits is that's gonna at least take one player out, right? If you get a couple
if you don't have, and even if you have one spider that reaches or like one flying defender, it's like, okay, fine.
Who cares?
We've traded for a spirit that cost me nothing.
And this replaced it anyways. This made the spirit anyways. So like, yeah. Love it. Okay. And the next one, go ahead.
Oh, Tears of Rage. You have to attack it, cast it during the declare attacker's step. So it's very limited in that sense. Your opponents can't block and you can't surprise them with it. But giving all your attacking creatures +X/+O, where X is the number of attacking creatures. I don't care if I have to sacrifice them at the end of turn. Even if I just like, you know what? I don't want to do my like actual good creatures. I'm just going to send in all my spirits. 8 spirits? So each spirit becomes a 9/1 in the air.
Ugh.
What?
This is bonkers. It's super berserk. It's super berserk. I get why there's so many restrictions on it. The sacking the creatures, the only during the attack step, all that. But this card is wild. Like this will end a game if you get that many. Like if you get that many spirits out there, they have to block most of them, and if, at the very least, like you're taking out anything that blocks, as well as dealing so much damage. Like I would love to. I want to see this card be played. I want to see. I want to see it happen. Yeah. Very, very cool. Was there any surprise or discoveries for this deck, Sean?
Absolutely. I think I have found new heights for Jar of Eyeballs.
I get it. So more of a surprise because you love Jar of Eyeballs.
Oh yeah. Surprise at how that this card could get even better.
Wow.
Because like whenever we sack a creature for mana, whenever we sack a spirit for mana, we're getting 2 eyeball counters. Mm-hmm. So if anyone tries a board wipe, it's like, okay, fine. Now I've got 30 eyeballs on here, 40 eyeballs, or the alternative is just like, you know what, I got some stuff out. Maybe it's a like destroy all permanents, non-land permanents. Like, well, okay, I'm happy to lose these creatures, but I don't want to lose all my cool artifacts. So I'm going to sack all my spirits, get like 8 mana in my mana pool. Now I'm going to tap for 3 of my 8 and look for an answer, like maybe a counter spell, maybe some kind of Boros charm to give all my permanents indestructible, and I'm able to look 30 cards deep for it.
And this is the thing, right? Much like the decoction module, Kykar makes these cards so much better than they normally would be because of that sacrificing the spirits for mana cost, right? So this essentially is going to cost you 3 spirits or whatever, right? Instead of 3 mana or 2 spirits and a mana, whatever. You're not holding up 3 mana necessarily to make this work like you would think you would have to, in which case that might deter you from playing a card like this and decoction module. So
you know what? Kykar
just makes these types of cards that much better. It's so good.
I just realized something. This card is even better than I thought because there is a magical Christmas land where there are more eyeballs than we have cards in the deck. And we get to put them on the bottom in any order. So if we can get to that point, we can just be like, okay, I'm going to arrange my deck however I want for the rest of the game.
You would have had to sack like 40 creatures to make that happen that's pretty far off, I think.
It's far off, but like the Twilight Drover loop only costs a single white to make that happen. And things like if you're able to copy Kykar with a Spark Double or a Helm, like we're getting massive spirits. It is a magical Christmas land, but I don't think it's as far out of reach as maybe we're imagining.
I'd love to see it happen.
Yeah, I'd love to see the 20 minutes of the person reordering their deck.
Yeah, exactly. Jar of Eyeballs, though, like I think you're right. I think it's the best it's ever been in this deck, specifically because you essentially get to do it for free, which is great. Cool. Well, I believe it now. That makes it time for the budget report.
Cool tunes, cool budget.
Yeah, very cool.
This deck is just over $100, $102. Kykar's $3. That brings it up to $105. Most expensive card, Lightning Greaves. That's happening more and more often, but we gotta protect Kykar. I like leaving it in. Sunforger spiked because of Feather. People are very excited to Boros Commander. Arguably, that's what it was worth all along. Yeah. It should have gotten here eventually, but that's a good $5. And Ashnod's Altar is $5. These are all sort of staples for their colors. It happens all the time. I think out of all of these, Ashnod's Altar is the easiest one to cut. Arguably Sunforger could be cut because if you want to just pretend Jar of Eyeballs is a version, like a worse version of Sunforger, we can look at it that way. We can get this deck under $100, certainly. And there are other ways. I mean, for Lightning Greaves protects Kykar from like targeting abilities, but there is a meta where having like a single white gains protection from a color, like a God's Willing, where it's like, well, that'll do the job sometimes. I don't know. If you are strapped for budget and you really want to play this, like, I think you can get it cheaper. I mean, as we all know, these cards are expensive for a reason, so cutting them is a loss of power, but it is doable.
You don't really need Ashnod's Altar, probably. I mean, obviously it's very good, but you've got the sack right on your commander there, so
yeah,
that's definitely the first one I would look at.
Yeah, I think if I and if I was talking about budget upgrades, I think an upgrade to the deck would be some sort of like a Leyline of Anticipation or a Vidalcan Ori, being able to cast at flash, because then you could, if something was going to kill all the creatures, you could sack your spirits for a bunch of mana, let it resolve, but before we change phases, recast your commander with that extra mana so you can get around the tax that way pretty easily.
Well, Leyline of Anticipation is only like $3 now.
Only 3?
Yeah.
Okay, Ashnod's Altar is Leyline of Anticipation now.
It's dropped, because of the reprint, right? So it's down to like $350 or something. So
Scoop
that
him
card
up.
is very, very good, Commander.
Yes.
Scoop them up. Okay, favorite cards. I'll go first. This one's a small little card, but I love the name and I love what it does. It's Shenanigans. We said there would be Shenanigans, and here it is. It's from Modern Horizons. It's destroys an artifact. It's a sorcery, and you get to dredge one. So this is, after you do it the first time, obviously, it's just sitting there in your graveyard, waiting for you to need it again. And that's what you want out of these types of spells, right? It doesn't have to be in your hand to be effective and to be useful. Whenever you see a crazy artifact come out, you can just say, all right, great. On my next draw, I'm dredging, and I'm going to use Shenanigans. And even if it gets countered or something, this card is still in play, basically, right? Like, it's still there ready for you to get it again. So a draw spell or anything just gets it back. So I really like Shenanigans. Coming out of Modern Horizons, there's a lot of great commander cards, and this might be one of the more underrated ones. I'm happy that it's a common, and I'm happy that it's only 18 cents, too, because it's really good. Yeah.
My favorite card, I think it's probably Jar of Eyeballs, but I'm going to pick Chaos Wand. That's another spell every time. Every time you activate Chaos Wand with Kykar, I guess unless the opponent's deck has no other instants or sorceries in it. That's the exception. But you're probably going to hit something, and we're going to be happy to cast it, get a spirit out of it, and sometimes, maybe you just get a little green ramp spell, no problem. Maybe you hit a blue counter spell and you can't actually cast it, so, that's also a possibility, but, sometimes we hit amazing instants and sorceries, and we're like, oh, thank you, I'll take it.
Don't forget, this is Commander.
Yeah.
We got some big ones, so I love that. I love that addition as well. Sean, very cool deck, very cool take on Kykar. There's these M20 commanders are just so much fun. They did a great job. Wizard Slicks. I just gotta say Wizard Slicks. It's been a lot of fun playing with these cards and everything like that. And I think, everyone, keep an eye peeled for this appearing on Battle of the Brews.
Yep,
it's gonna happen.
Yes, it will.
Love it. Speaking of which, go check that out. It's right here on our YouTube channel as well. Battle of the Brews, getting better every time, and a lot of fun to watch. Okay, great. Well, that's the deck. That's the show for this week. Thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Big thanks to all our patrons who make these episodes possible.
Yeah, and if you want to check out more comedy videos, check out our Brews News playlist.
Make sure you follow us on Twitch TV to see when we play live.
If you want to chat with us, head over to Twitter. We're at Commanders Brew.
And please hit subscribe to ding the bell and find out when we got new stuff coming out.
See you next time.
Bye.